Do you get angry when there's a lack of consensus? I've been thinking about. Hi, I'm host Eric. I'm the host of Talking with Fence People, the internet's only YouTube channel. And I am, of course, the recipient of multiple awards, including History's Manliest Man, History's Handsomest Man, History's Most Important Man, and History's Boringest Man. All of those things. The last one I'm not so proud of, being History's Boringest Man. I'm so boring that I corrected them and said, it's most boring, not boringest. You know, I like to live up to the title of the award. I'll bring these with me, sure. You get upset at the lack of consensus. Does it make you angry? I was thinking about, for all of 1 minute before I started the stream, it's not like I've been thinking about it, but I was thinking about, for 1 minute before starting the stream, how, well, first of all, this is predicated on having heard Rachel's live stream last night where it sounded like she was getting a little heated. Sounds like somebody she was dealing with was maybe not hearing her or being non-responsive or whatever. People don't get mad at each other when they agree, right? When there's consensus about the matter at hand. People get mad at each other when communicative intentions aren't attained. So, like, for a lot of people, when they communicate, their intention is something other than to convey information. I was dealing with somebody in the chat yesterday who was clearly, the reason he was communicating about certain political things was he needed to know which whether I was boogeyman or angels, because that's how he had the world divided, you know? He thought I was, first he thought I was some kind of arch conservative just because I support the Second Amendment. When I pointed out the myriad problems, it would be the fact that he had no advocacy except he doesn't like guns. And if you don't also not like guns, then you're on the bad guy team. But then, you know, of course, in some issues I agree with him because in some issues he was right. And he was just so passionate and upset and stuff, right? But it makes me think, what was he really upset about? Was he upset about? I mean, he certainly was, at least, if not angry at me, then I guess non-civilly adversarial towards me, which is fine. I don't care. But I was trying to communicate about. Really, I was trying to demonstrate how we ought to communicate about politics, and he was trying to get validation for his liberals good, conservatives bad heuristic that he uses instead of actually thinking about politics, you know. But so my question is then, I guess, what actually was making him mad? And why was it being directed towards me? Because the thing is, in no way, shape, or form would anybody who was listening to my explications of things last night say that I was unreasonable, uncivil, held appalling positions or whatever. None of those things were the case. And yet, what I was saying engendered so much anger. Now, again, I've been the person who's been angry before too when somebody just will not listen, is non responsive, doesn't seem to care about the information I'm communicating on its merits. But those things happen primarily because not everybody communicates for the purpose of conveying information. A lot of people communicate for other reasons, such as they want to express themselves, or in this instance, they want to be able to cast judgment on you politically as good or bad. The thing is, there are plenty of black and white questions that can be adjudicated correctly so that you know black or white. But I'm not one such individual, okay? I transcend that sort of dichotomy when it comes to politics by simply prioritizing what's correct. I the deal for real, the deal for real. It is an absolutely gorgeous day here in Mariposa. And as they say in the McDonald's advertisements, I am loving it. That's right. Ba da ba ba ba. Another thing they say in the McDonald's commercials. I'm just soaking in the sunshine right now. It feels so good because the air is like kind of chilly. Not really chilly, it's like 70, maybe 70 degrees. Just cool enough that the sun feels extra nice. And we do have plenty of cloud cover today as well, so it's not just clear blue skies. We got dappled sunlight, areas of cloud-induced shade, temporarily cloud-induced shade. I guess all cloud-induced shade is going to be temporary. It's kind of redundant. Not redundant per se, but obvious. Implied by the latter, therefore not needing a qualifier. But, just because it's implied by it doesn't mean everybody infers it. So maybe it's okay to add that word there. Maybe I did have one too many words. I'm just kind of cruising and chilling right now through a mild Adderall day. I just took 2 this morning. I took 2 yesterday, but I also smoked 1 yesterday, so I consumed 3 of them. But smoking is just a waste. I don't even know why I ever do that. You get like this little brief kind of cloudy speed smoking high, but then it's not nearly as smart a way to do it as just take the pill, melt it in your mouth, boof it, take it with grapefruit juice, whatever. Not that I'm big on boofing. Just isn't any reason to. Like, why put a pill up my butt when I could just put it in my mouth? So, I do believe, however, in the occasional snortage, just so you can really feel like you're doing drugs. Naturally, it's a little painful in the sinuses. But you know what they say at the gymnasium: no pain, no gain. So, YouTube recently voted me the YouTubiest YouTube channel in the world, which I thought was pretty cool, because I am pretty YouTubey. If you know what I should do, I should see if these products that I'm using here in this video, if they have a, like, YouTube has this thing where if you're using a product of some kind, you can look it up if that door's locked, trouble. You can't go in that way. You can look it up and see if it's in their tag library or whatever, and you tag it, and then if somebody buys it, then you get revenue from it. So I was thinking, well, shit, I do use a lot of random products. Maybe Quikrete Premium Play Sand is one of the things that I could tag and make money from if you buy some Quikrete Premium Play Sand. I'm not sure it would be cost effective to have it shipped to you, but maybe. I can't open that door, trouble. It's locked. You've got to deal with that. Oh, I missed. I missed like Wilt Chamberlain if he was shooting from far away. He did fine dunking the basketball, obviously, but that's not that impressive, really. I mean, how hard is it to make a shot when your hands, you can put it directly into the basket? I mean, people are like, oh, it's a dunk. It's like that. That's just saying, like, I can jump up high so I don't have to shoot the ball at all. I just put it in the basket. That's not impressive. I could do that with a ladder just fine. Get me a ladder and I can climb up there and just drop it through the hoop too. Basketball. If that is your real name. What am I building? Yes, that is iced tea. Delicious iced tea from the brand called Pure Tea. It was a brand of iced tea that my mother really liked a lot. You know, even deep into dementia, when she could hardly say anything, she could still say pure and say how much, like, convey how much she liked that iced tea. Why does somebody else have to be doing work? I want to be the only one making construction noises. What am I working on? Let me show you. This is my pond. Starts up there, comes down this way. Oops, sorry, plant. Goes this way into this first pool. Comes up over there. Goes down that chute there. And down here. And so I'm right now at the stage where I'm going back over it with mortar and mortaring in some rocks and stuff. I need to clean up this part some. But eventually it's going to go up there. So the pump will be down where the bottom of that stick is. And this is the tube that carries it up to the top part up there. So, you know, it goes in an infinite circle, you see. A lot of people said, Eric, you're never going to be able to attain infinity in your lifetime. They were wrong. Dead wrong. But don't worry, they are still alive. I'm going to have to go get more rocks at some point here. I'm running low on rocks. Some of these areas, like, I need to, once this dries out, come back, put a kind of a thickish layer right here and put some rocks in a couple spots. Down here as well. I need to put some rocks underneath that big one that I put last night. Take a gander at this, everybody. I was showing you the wrong side of the camera. You weren't looking at the right things at all. Okay, so put this one up here last night. I like it. I'm gonna put some other rock down there, some other big rock, or I might, but I don't think I will. But I might use this. I have used multiple of these so far in the construction of this tile. Tile fits like that pretty good. Need to fill in some gaps up in here. smooth some stuff out here and there. I'm gonna need to pull this back up here. I don't know if you can see that, yeah. So this hill, I need to pull this back and kind of angle it smoother like that. And then I'll dig a little channel, like the English Channel's tunnel, right? Bring that tube down here. It'll be underneath this thing. That's a possibility. If I put this like that, if I put this like that, I could leave this chute here, bring the tube down through here, see where the pump will be, which is right here. I need it to come down a little bit higher than that, actually, because but yeah, you get the idea of what I'm musing about as I'm doing this stuff. A lot of this mortar that I have over the top of this, it's going to need to be fortified with some rocks. Some of it is fortified underneath the visible mortar. I've done multiple layers as I keep kind of adjusting what I want to do. So hopefully it's enough to be watertight and all that. You know, it's not like I researched it, so it's not like I know what I'm doing. I just refuse to Google it at all. I don't want to learn something about how to make a pond. I want to freestyle making a pond. You know, see where the wind carries me. Oh, but you could do it like this other way that everybody's done before and that works and it's easy. Fuck off everybody else's way. That's boring. I'm making a pond my way. Is it kind of a train wreck? Sometimes I think so. But we'll see how it turns out, alright? Just, you know, don't underestimate the power of fiddle adjust, add a little bit more magic dust. Like, I know I want to incorporate this big California shaped rock somewhere, but I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know where it's going to fit, really. I was thinking maybe I could like put it across here so there's a little space underneath it. That might work. This step obviously did not come out as planned. This thing is just falling off. So this is just a temporary step anyway. I'm going to have to rethink and redo all these steps. I think I'm going to mortar in some of these big rocks to make the steps instead of what I was trying to do, which was cementing wood boards in place. Turns out wood doesn't cement very well. If you've ever tried to mortar a piece of wood to some dirt, you you might indeed find the same sort of troubles that I have encountered. Take care of yourself. You should not do this much labor looking at your age. Labor looking? I'm having fun. I'm not that old. I'm only 54. I will concede that in the process of working on this thing, I have made my elbows a little sore. The left elbow wasn't sore at all before, now it's sore too because my right elbow was already kind of sore. I started favoring my left hand, now I got two sore elbows. Would I have had sore elbows like this if I were 20 years younger? Probably not. But, you know, your tendons, they take a lot of abuse over the course of the decades. In either case, it certainly is a silly thing for you to say, to presume to know how much I should do based on how old I am, as your guess. What a presumptuous and horrible thing to say. I hope you've learned a valuable lesson. This can go. This leaf. We don't need this leaf. We don't need this leaf either. The leaves are starting to get yellow. This thing is basically ready to harvest and manicure right here. Looking juicy, like juicy fruit gum. Pull it out. Stick it in. The taste is gonna move you when you pop it in your mouth. You didn't offend me. I just corrected you. If I were that easily offended, I wouldn't be constantly live streaming on YouTube. Juicy fruit, it's gonna move ya. It's juice so soft, it gets right to ya. Juicy fruit, the taste is gonna move ya. Would you like to be moved by flavor? If so, try juicy fruit. The gum that promises a taste that will move you, perhaps to tears. Juicy fruit lost flavor so quickly, I haven't had it in a long time. I'm sure it still does, but that's your problem with your juicy fruit. You get like 5 chews into it, and it's just bland, nothing gum all of a sudden. See these big yellow leaves? You don't really need to pull them off, but you know, it doesn't hurt. Plant stops directing resources to dying leaves, which are dying because it's redirecting all its energy to the budding cycle, you know. But this bad boy, I'd say it needs, well, I mean, it could be harvested right now. Look at all these brown hairs. This could be harvested right now. We do have a branch of it in the drying closet currently, but I kind of felt like it was slightly premature when I pulled that branch. It seems done now. Smells good. This obviously is not done. This is a slow brew. And this one, oh my God. Look at that. That's beautiful. Wow. This is the same one as over there, but it's just that branch snuck in through here. Look at this. This is absolutely gorgeous. Look at those hairs. Mmm. That's like the winner of the juiciness contest right there. They seem like a mint plant. It's not unlike a mint plant. Not entirely unlike a mint plant. I wouldn't use it to make a mint julep, however. People will say, this is some kind of a julep, but not a mint julep. Get these big leaves, put them in the compost pile. Positive constructive criticism. What's constructive criticism? Just feel like your health is not that good. How can you feel how healthy I am? Can you also experience the degree of sleepiness and or hungriness that I feel? Do you have some kind of magical body telepathy or something? That makes no sense. What we do have evidence for is your poor use of language. both your choice to express these ridiculous notions and your failure to justify them in the way that one might be able to do if one chose to use language to communicate information. But of course, not everybody does that, and it's not exactly a choice. It's more like a cognitive function thing. So I'm kind of projecting my frame of reference on you. Nevertheless, you should be aware of the fact that, as a general rule, people who tell me what I should do with my health and my body, I have a single standard response that applies to all of them, which is, I think you should go fuck yourself. That's what you should do with your body. You should go fuck yourself with a pineapple. Well, why aren't you fucking yourself with a pineapple? It might help you learn not to be such a douchebag. See what I'm saying, Doc? Sure you do. Sure you do. You see what I'm saying. Just as you don't want to be told to go fuck yourself with a pineapple, I don't give a fuck about what you think about my health. Nor do I feel like you could potentially ever even dream of being helpful by scolding me about it. All you're going to do is incur my ire, which, granted, is mild because I'm in a very good mood today, so lucky you. Okay, if we are going to get back to work on the pond, there's something I need to do that I've been putting off and doing a makeshift solution instead. I need to get the shop vac down there and vacuum up all the dust and little rocks and stuff before I hit the next section. But I've poured 3 full batches of concrete or mortar this morning. A full batch for me is 4 scoops, 4 jars of cement, 2 jars of lime, and 16 jars of sand, along with the right amount of water, which varies a little bit. That's a full load of mortar for me. It only fills up like half the bucket, but I'm kind of lazy. Well, really, it's my elbows get kind of sore. Hi, Daryl Parker. I'm so glad you're back. We missed the living fuck out of you. I don't know which plant is what strain. I don't know. I am talking with you. You just got to give me a second, okay? I'm not always looking at the chat, but I do go, when I look back at it, I do go and look. Mr. Kartoffel, no, for the 1 billionth time. Lol, Rachel, I'm telling his wife. Rachel Strauss, I think you're so cute. I think you have excessively adorable sexiness syndrome, which isn't such a bad syndrome to have. You've matured. I'm glad. You not being a mod never had anything to do with your maturity. It was simply the naturally occurring correct response to somebody who wants to be a mod. Okay. I've got my shop back. I will look handsome when what? I already look handsome. Maybe you weren't here at the beginning of this, but I've actually won several awards recently. History's Most Important Man, History's Handsomest Man, and History's Manliest Man. I have colored it. This is the color I colored it. If I didn't dye it like this, it would be jet black. It comes in jet black, but I dye it to give myself a little bit more of a dignified appearance. What do you think? Is it working, huh? Because I'm actually only 17 years old. But this way I can buy alcohol and nobody ever cards me. These bags under my eyes, Hollywood makeup. The finest Hollywood makeupticians have done my makeup every morning for the last couple of years. I'm gonna get this tube too, because you can never have too many tubes. That's rule number one about shop vacuuming. Bro, you can't have too many tubes. Unk. I'm not your unk, okay? You should instead call me Oni-chan, because I'm your little brother. Oh, for fuck's sake, Mr. Kartoffel, no! Alright, so, let's look at what we got here. We got a shop vac. But this shop vac requires a power source. What is that power source, you may ask? It is electricity. The form of energy that you can rely on. I can also rely on it. But most importantly, you can. Are you all tightly smuggled? God. All right. This is not the same one. This one needs to be pulled out. Can you see? Oh, you're not even looking in the right direction. Guys, do I have to tell you where to go every time? It should be obvious that you should be looking over here where I am, not over there where I'm not. As you see, I've got a big mess here. I've taken my time and carefully developed this mess over the course of months, ensuring that I'm not stuck with a small mess that I'd be embarrassed of. Alright, this goes like this. Here we go. Unraveling the mystery. Good thing I was in the Boy Scouts. That's where I learned all about knots. How to tie them, what they're called. I was actually never in the Boy Scouts. I was in the Weebelows. As far as I got in my scouting career. Probably because I didn't like it and was terrible at everything because it's just a bunch of TE shit. Okay. We've got this adequately unraveled. Now, we're going to take this and this down there. I'm going to give you a bird's eye view. No, I'm going to give you a turtle's eye view. Because you're going to be down below and I'm going to be up high. I know what you're saying. Oh my God, is this really happening? Yes, it is. And it's everything you dreamed it would be, and more. Ah, I almost forgot my extra tube. But not today, Satan. Not today. All right. Now, Okay, we've tubed it up for extra tube action. We're going to plug this in. This tube is on the wrong side. For this job, we want to suck, not blow. I'm going to add this attachment. Okay, that's cleaned out pretty good. Take this back up to the top. Okay, let's take a break before we do any more meowing, which we'll do here. You need to meow meow a little bit away from here, along this side here, and build up these walls here so they're a little taller, so the shoot's a little deeper. I've got room to work with down here, which is nice. Exciting, exciting. Things are really coming together. I hope you are just as excited as I am to see this thing finally at some point be done and actually operational. Will be crazy, considering what a long project it's been. Not because it needed to be such a long project, but because I work in fits and bursts, and I'm not very consistent. Hi, Acacia. Snow from November through February. Well, yeah, I plan to have a pond heater in there as well. So I am going to need to figure out the exact like electrical outlet approach I'm going to take, but it'll be fine. I'll figure it out. I think I will. Sorry, it was just the pharmacy. There was one of my pills they couldn't fill yesterday because they didn't have it, so they're telling me it's ready now. It wasn't my Adderall, so I didn't care. Why some people good at yapping but others good at mathing? Well, typically being good at math is indicative of a strong relationship with introverted thinking, either first or second slot, sometimes fifth, sometimes sixth, But yapping is consistent with having a strong relationship with extroverted intuition, first or second, in my case, first. So I can carry on for quite a long time, even with 0 people here and nothing happening in the chat, if I'm in the mood. Like, people were really upset yesterday, I think across the board in all directions, by this assassination. And instead of it being a unifying kind of, we're all mad about the fact that somebody got, that somebody experienced violence because of protected speech, Instead, there's all kinds of fighting that's going on about it. So whether he was a good guy or not, or you agree with him or not, or it's just silly. So what is it actually that makes people mad? Well, I'm not really sure exactly. Like, somebody was in here last night and saying various things, some of which I was agreeing with and some of which I was disagreeing with. And I always provided a nice, clear explanation as to why I disagreed with it, why he was wrong when he was wrong. But it's like he was really determined to be mad at me. There were certain areas where we had common ground. I share his perspective on Israel and Gaza by and large, but I've been party to that storyline for most of my life, so I'm a little bit burned out on it, you know. Acacia only yaps when you're alone. I only yap when I'm alone. I only eat when I'm with you. But I'll doom scroll with the whole party of folks off in the corner with the bottle of booze. What do you think about those lyrics? There's some contemporary lyrics, you know. You could say, like, and I won't have no skibbity. That shit is not just not for me. I'd rather pay the phantom tax. Could just include a lot of contemporary jargon. I guess my contemporary jargon is probably dated by this point. I'm trying to work on my project, my brain won't focus. Well, maybe you should go get some meth. There you go. You don't need a prescription for that. Just need to find the right neighborhood. I'll give you a hint. It's usually not a particularly nice neighborhood. A certain T fella was bonkers. Who's T fella? Make America great again. All right, if you insist. I will do so to the best of my ability should I become elected president. But I don't think it's ever ceased being great. I think that we should it'd be better to make America good again. I watched this incredibly moving documentary today about the incredible psychological warfare the U.S. played on German and Japanese POWs. How? They just treated them well, fed them well, respected their rights, adhered to the Geneva Conventions, and all these POWs have been subjected to a bunch of anti-American propaganda from their lying governments and their imperial ways. Well, they all got to witness firsthand the superiority of liberty, freedom, justice. It was very emotional. Am I a Democrat or Republican? Neither. I'm a correctist. I have the correct position on every specific public policy matter, and sometimes that'll agree with dumbass Group A, or sometimes it'll agree with dumbass Group B, but no. The U.S. is on a manhunt after you? Oh, well, I guess hope you're counting your days, because if there's one thing the United States has gotten very, very good at, it's killing people. You were reading the chat as you fell asleep last night. Likely story, Acacia. How could you read the chat with your eyes closed? Well, then, your days are definitely numbered, because those organizations are unconstrained by normal legal standards and have massive budgets and not a whole hell of a lot to do. A T-man. By your mind? What about my mind? Well, it has nothing to do with me. I'm not CIA or FBI, M16. The thing is, you can't have both CIA and FBI after you, because CIA is for international stuff and FBI is for domestic. Do your TI brothers like to math more than Yap, E-man? Well, I mean, I think it really depends. I typed earlier today a ESTP, and I would say for him, absolutely that's the case. And we even talked a little bit about how for him TI is much more straight up negationary because paired with SE. Because TI is a negationary function. It checks things for validity, but when things pass, they just pass contingently. But if they fail forever, right? Um, so TI is very negationary by nature. It asks questions in order to pin down what people are saying, what they mean with when they're saying word A or B, right? But any TI, well, if I were TINE, I wouldn't be nearly as yappy. I'd be yappy in my head. I believe the Earth is globular, yes. I believe it. It revolves around the sun, spins on its axis, etc. Normal things. We had a flurf in the chat. What's a flurf? Why did I not notice that? Oh, well, also, Rachel was streaming for a while. She was getting really mad at SB I mean, I can kind of understand why, because from the quotes that I saw in the chat last night, it sounds like that guy really was a complete fucking asswipe. Who has positions like women should remain quiet and stuff? Like, why don't you go be Islamic if you want to be pre-enlightenment thinking? I have to wash my hands because they feel very dusty. I don't like dusty feeling hands. When my hands feel dusty, my heart feels moldy. Well, should we mix up another batch of mortar? Another full batch of mortar? Let's do it. We are starting to run low on cement. Actually starting to run a little low on lime even. But we got plenty of sand left. I think we have about the right amount of ingredients to use it all up about the same time without having extra of one thing probably. Okay. The more I work on this stuff, the smarter I get about it. Here's how to be smart about something like this. I just did this like today, okay? Working is a lot easier when you're not bending over all the way. I've been having all these things on the ground. Why not just put them up on the table? This makes things a lot easier for me. Sometime back, I finally figured out just put water in the bucket, Eric, rather than going and turning on the hose, filling up your jar once, and turning off the hose. Then you can just scoop the water out of the bucket. Things like this. I'm getting better at it as I go because while my TE isn't necessarily great, my NE throws random ideas out there, and then I go, oh, this is why this is better. It wasn't that I figured out that I should do this so much as, you know what? I don't have to bend over with this one because it's on the table. Maybe I should put everything on the table. And that's what I did. Okay, we're doing a full batch, so we're going to start with 3 jars of water. 1, 2, and 3. 3 jars of water. Now we're going to put more water than 3 jars of water, but that's our starting amount. Now we're going to get 4 jars of cement, Portland cement. One, 2, 3, and 4. 4 jars of Portland cement. This is lime. 2 jars of lime. And then we're going to do our first mixing. But we're going to plug this in first. We're just going to melt the cement, the lime, into the water. And get out any chunks, you know, you don't want chunks in there. Okay, so now we're going to need to add a total of 16 jars of sand. But before we even add 1 jar of sand, we're going to add another jar of water. Now, we'll do the sand 4 jars at a time. And I've been putting in 15 rather than 16. 1. 2. 3. 4. 1. 2. 3. 4. 1. 2. 3. 4. Okay, so we're going to need a little more water here. We need 3 more jars of sand. If it's still a little too loose, then a 4th. But it won't be too loose. Now we need more water. It's maybe a little bit loose. There we go. Perfect. Now we've got a perfectly mixed bucket of mortar. And we have something else too. We've got this bucket. We're going to put some water in this bucket. I just pour it from this other bucket. Maybe it's not the cleanest water, but that's fine. Now I have 2 buckets. And 1 dream. 2 buckets, 1 dream. That's the title of my autobiography. All right. Now we're here at the spot. The spot where we need to pick up where we left off. I'm going to need to get some little rocks from over here. I put these in this other bucket where they were to begin with. Before I foolishly poured them all out on the ground. All right. That's enough rocks for now. So, I think the first thing I want to do here is just this spot right here. All right. First order of business. Good consistency on the mortar. A little wet maybe. I think it would be just fine. Okay, little bugs, you're gonna have to stay out of my face. Good. That's a good start. I have my paintbrush, which I will use to make sure everything is all cemented in properly. Okay, good. Get another little rock for here. Okay, good. Making progress. All right. Okay, we're gonna just tuck these in their spots. And we'll get this with the paintbrush to smooth it out. What this bucket of water here is for. Okay. Now let's add some more mortar here. Get away, fly. God. You don't see me going around flying in your ear, do you? How about a little reciprocity? Okay. Pretty good. All right. Now let's get the bottom here. Okay. Now it's getting hot. Sun's come out. And it's getting pretty warm. I need to rebuild the structure under here a little bit. So I'm gonna boy some of this dirt. I'll show you what I'm doing in case you can't see. Okay. We're gonna get some of these little rocks around here. Yeah. I'll put those in there to give that mortar something to cling to. Kind of like cling wrap. Except it's not at all like cling wrap. Alright, good enough. Okay. Get here. Okay. That should be nice and structurally sound. Good. Okay. So we're making good progress here. Let's get that spot next. Okay. Okay. Now let's come back over here. This is going to need to be taller. Okay. Let's get this rock here. It's a good place for it. And we can put like this. Just mortar it around. Looking okay. Now, I still need to make that taller. I don't really have much cement left. Mortar, I mean, of course. Get away, flying insect. I don't want you around here. Okay. Doing good. Making good progress. All right. We'll go back up to the top now. I'm going to take a break, read the chat, have a sip of beverage of some sort, have a cigarette. There's a lot of bugs out right now. There weren't any, but now there are shit tons. Jesus. Okay. Put these gloves here. Okay, mosquitoes, you're going to have to die or something. I don't know. If you even are mosquitoes, you might just be these horrible face flies that we get sometimes. Okay. Well. It looks like we've completed a task. We're taking a break. Let's see what the chat has to say. Clunky Chunk has specific interests. Who's Clunky Chunk? Is that me? Her cousin Clunky Chunk wears too many bracelets. Clunky Chunk. Not probably a nickname you'd be thrilled to have, I'm guessing. Hi, Steven. And their sauce goes amazing on both the tenders and the fries and the sliders. It is so amazing to be here. It's so amazing to have this amazing opportunity to meet with brands. Oh my God. And I couldn't believe it. I actually got to meet with a representative from some brands. It was so amazing. It's like, of course I love those shoes. You know, because we're looking for people who have, a genuine relationship with our product already. That, they're passionate about our product as much as we are. What if you could not give any fewer fucks about your product? Let's just ignore that old man over there and continue on being amazed by everything. Oh my God, the amount of little bugs back here is insane. There were none, and now there's like 40 million. All right, let's move to the front. This is ridiculous. Too many bugs. Too many bugs. Oh, there's a pocket. Oh, there's all of our mail. How nice. They delivered the mail today. Hey, mail lady, you're not supposed to just put it on our chair. You could get in trouble. Huh. I wonder where Rachel is. She might have gone to sleep or something. Hard to say. She probably didn't get any sleep last night. We need to go. Oh shit! We need to go to town today to get her Klonopin. So that's on the agenda here this afternoon. We could make a little bit of an outing of it. In fact, we could go to town, get her Klonopin. What am I drinking? Iced tea. Iced tea. Pure brand iced tea. There's no standing water. Speedballing with alcohol and cocaine sounds like the world's shittiest speedball. Surely you have a ghetto around somewhere, where you could go get street speed. Sure, it might have a little fentanyl mixed into it, but that's just all part and parcel of the adventure. It's like y'all's never heard of the ghetto before. Good to see you too, No Sage. Oh, you're not talking to me. It was mentioned that you were going through some things, and my heart goes out to you. Well, then how are you going to have it go out to me if it's already busy in someone else's court? What if I have a problem and I need your heart to go out to me? I have a place with free fent tests and a vending machine. That's fantastic. That's amazing. That's government doing a great job. Oh, yeah, well, my heart hurts for the state of the nation when people are assassinated for voicing protected political speech. It's a travesty beyond all reckoning. But I guess that's why they need me to be president. Everybody needs me to be president. But despite that fact, they expect me to make it happen. Like, everybody needs me to be president. So everybody should make it happen. I'll do the job once I'm elected for 4 years. Not running for a second term. Fuck that noise. Some people might say, Eric, what kind of delusional nightmare must you be living to believe that you'd actually be the best president of the United States and the whole country needs you to be president? No delusion at all. I believe that to be 100% true. You might say it's delusional, but I'm not the only one. Okay, I'm pretty much the only one who says I should be president, but not the only one. Like, hey, everybody, I can't do everything myself. I'm busy being correct and offering to serve as president. Everybody else needs to do all the other stuff. But Eric, nobody cares about you. Well, that's the problem, isn't it? That's the problem. Nobody knows who I am, and nobody cares about what I say. So, I don't know. I've only got one marketing idea, and it's hot air balloon. So I could float across the country in a hot air balloon with a big sign underneath that says, "Vote for Eric. He's the guy waving from the hot air balloon." I think that would work. I just need to take hot air balloon driving lessons. You can't really drive a hot air balloon that well. You're kind of at the mercy of the winds, you know. It's kind of bullshit, really, to think about it. Like, hot air should not just go up. It should go forward and back, depending on what you want it to do as well. Like, why does hot air insist on always going up? We don't always want to go up. Like, look at regular air. Planes, they can take off on it, they can fly on it, they can land on it. They can do all the different things you want to do. They can go left, they can go right. Why? Because it's regular air. But hot air, you can only go up. Somebody would drop the ball when they invented hot air balloons. If you want to go to the side, you have to put your hands over and like wave them really fast and push you to the side. It's not easy. I found something incredible on Google Earth Abandoned. No, I'd be extremely good at it. I'd be perfect at it. But you could well argue that becoming president requires too much bullshit and too much glad handing and too little scolding. That's for sure. But I do the job fantastically well. Because what does the country need more than anything else right now, more than any specific public policy even? They need somebody to demonstrate how to talk and think about politics. And who better than the president with the bully pulpit? I'll get my work done as president via the courts and the Justice Department. I'll have them side with, against unitary executive power, for example. I'll have my Justice Department, I'll do something that's clearly I'm not allowed to do, have the Justice Department go challenge it in court and set precedent that way. That's how you can meaningfully affect the country. Two ways. One, by demonstrating proper discourse. Two, case law, not actual law. Now, obviously, international affairs are a third thing, which is separate from those. But I'd kick ass in all areas. No doubt about it. Too much truth is too much for me to get elected? Possibly. That's possible. I believe that I'd be thwarted by other people who want to be president instead of me. But all those other people, if they have a chance to hear me, they should acknowledge to themselves, oh shit, I'm not as qualified as this guy. I'm a patriotic American, so I'm not going to run. They destroy me rhetorically. Don't be ridiculous. They don't need to play by any rules. Look what happened to Obama. He got just just vehemently opposed in every single thing, in every single possible way by these Republicans who hated him, right? And how did he respond to it? By being weak as fuck. Nobody's going to push me around, rhetorically or otherwise. And why not? It's not because I'm so, brave and whatever. It's because I have the certainty of being correct. So I don't need to worry about people's opinions or whatever. I will win all the arguments because I only argue winning points. I don't argue losing points. Why would I bother arguing the losing side of something? Now, I'm not disputing that um, that there are plenty of barriers in the status quo to me becoming president. I'm stating that I'd be the best president in history. I'm not stating that I have any realistic chance of becoming president or anything like that. I recognize that there are myriad forces designed to thwart my effort to do so, Well, I know that's the case, No Sage. But you underestimate the power of a snappy retort. You underestimate the power of the truth when it's presented in an abundantly, like, sledgehammer fashion. I remember in this debate they had between the vice presidents one time, and I forget what the vice president candidate name was, but he was talking to Dan Quayle, and Dan Quayle had compared himself to JFK, and the other vice president candidate said, "Sir, I met JFK. I knew him. You are no JFK." It was just like, bam, down goes Quayle. I remember when Obama was debating, and the opponent was saying, like, our military is deficient in these areas. We used to have this many battleships, now we only have this many, or something like that. And Obama's like, we used to have a whole lot of horses and muskets too. I don't think the absence of them is indicative of a problem. And that was just bam. The analogy was so right on, it indisputably won the point. You remember that moment too? Yeah. You're Senator, you're no Jack Kennedy. Well, how about something as straightforward as this? Read my lips. No new taxes. I'll cop that one from George Bush, no problem. The senior, of course, not George Bush Jr. George Bush Sr. didn't actually follow through on that promise, but I certainly would. Or how about Reagan's genius statement? It's your money. You should keep it. Like, sometimes people get so enamored with their political perspectives, they forget that the money they earn is theirs and they should keep as much of it as possible. Not all sound bites are bad. When the truth is delivered in the right format, it is abundantly powerful. When it's delivered right, nothing is stronger. These anti-American, utilitarian, partisan, butt fuckeries people, well, yeah, somebody planned ahead. And yes, they had that line at the ready. And probably Obama had his line at the ready too. Here's the advantage I have. I don't need to have any lines at the ready. They'll come out of me, no problem. All I need is enough Adderall to go, and we're good to go. I will smack you down in no uncertain terms. And I will, in the process, scold anyone and everyone who's refusing to actually engage on the things being said and the actual qualifications and competency of the person, but instead is focused on their team preference. You get out of here, teamy people. I don't like it. I don't need to have any lines at the ready. I don't need. I prep for the debate. Like, all right, what do you think they're gonna try to run at me here? Give me. I have somebody helping me, right? What do you think they're gonna try to run? And if they name something that I don't feel knowledgeable enough about, then I'll say, all right, give me a bullet point sheet on that. Give me a couple citations too, so I know where you're getting this shit from. That's all I need to do to prep for a presidential debate. They call it the use of the word debate there is like the use of the word vaccine with COVID. That's not what that word means. And those presidential debates, debate does not mean what those people are doing. That's like, how much would the whole internet benefit from listening to this very simple thing I've said many times before? If you want to have a productive debate, you need to have at least three things. You need to have a resolution or a plan, probably a resolution because people don't want to make a plan. You need to have one side be aff, one side be neg, and you need to have a structure that allows both people to speech time and questioning time, where they get to ask the questions, the other person has to answer them. Those are the three things you need to have a debate that qualifies as a debate. That's the bare minimum, right? That's not even assuming you're flowing or anything. You can at least do something if, well, like I said, No Sage, I'm not concerned so much about arguing the point about whether I'm electable, right? Whether I would win the debate is not in any dispute. Whether that would win over electorate, the electorate is another question. My claim is that I would win the debate with the truth, that I'd be the best president the country's ever had, not that it would make people like me. Again, No Sage, I'm not claiming I have a good or realistic chance of getting elected. I'm not claiming that my style wouldn't be off-putting to certain voters, maybe a large percentage of them, I don't know. But what I am claiming, I can substantiate. I would win the debates on all substantive grounds, and the reason I would win them is not because I'm a good debater, it's because I'm correct. And so it's always easier to argue the correct position. And lastly, that I'd be the best president the country ever had. I'm fine with people taking exception to what I'm saying. I want that feedback, and I want to explain to them why they're wrong. The American people deserve that, right? They deserve an explanation. Why are we doing this? How is this legitimate? And is it going to produce good impacts? Is this a plan of yours? If so, does it meet, have you met the stock issues? Is there inherency? Is there solvency? Have you measured harms? Is there a significant impact? All these things need to be discussed. No, no, I'd be the best president the country had. Okay. You're evaluating, um, like, you're looking at people who were playing T-ball, all the previous presidents, and saying, Eric, you wouldn't be able to play T-ball well. That's correct. I'd be playing full blast baseball and kicking all kinds of ass on every metric that mattered. History would judge me very kindly, regardless of whether my contemporaries did, because I'd make the right decisions and I'd do them with the appropriate amount of deliberation. I'd explain myself and I would have good reasons for things. It wouldn't be like when Trump said, I got a hunch about COVID, right? We wouldn't have those kind of problems. And I'm not interested, I'm not worried at all about, for example, being moved by people being unhappy about shit because I have myriad years of experience of having totally wrong people be totally angry at me about shit online. Could not be any more accustomed to it, and it doesn't budge me a bit in terms of what's correct. So one of the reasons why you should agree that if I were to be president, I'd be the best president in history is because at least I can articulate the means by which I'd accomplish things, regardless of other people's uh, cooperation. If I use the Justice Department and change case law, that's a much more effective way of actually impacting the country, protecting the country's process integrity for future presidents and future generations, than anything I could do in collaboration with the legislature. So the fact that I've articulated this like, oh, wow, Eric, I've not heard that before. You're right. That is the best way to deal with things. That should give you a heads up that, yeah, I would be an extremely effective president because I don't need anybody's cooperation to do things the intelligent way, especially since I'm trying to constrain excessive power, not exercise it. So if you're not convinced by all the things I just said, well, then you're proving your own point. Some people, they don't care, right? They don't care at all about the truth, how right you are, etc. They just hate you for disagreeing with them. Keeping in mind that I have been debating policy or coaching policy for much of my whole life, right? I have made cases on both sides of every major issue that you can imagine. And that means I've done vastly more work, intellectual work, thinking about what the country ought to do than any candidate in history. None of the previous candidates in history have been a debate coach. So they haven't done the intellectual work to know. Not that being a debate coach is sufficient. There are plenty of debate coaches who, because their cognitive function stack, particulars of their experience or whatever, are still horribly wrong because they don't recognize debate for what it is. It's if you have the capacity to be disinterested when you're parsing through the argument chains, you get to know what's right and what's wrong. My favorite president was Polk, a one-term president whom I would like to model myself after, at least in the one-term part. No, it's not more pertinent because what do lawyers not do? They don't make cases on both sides of various public policy issues, which is what the president is tasked with executing public policy. So lawyers may be better than I am at knowing which paperwork to file on a corporate lawsuit kind of a thing, but certainly they wouldn't be as good a president. I am a patriot. I have a deep knowledge of civics. I was raised by a very patriotic father who believed in checks and balances in the American democracy. And I've done the work to understand everything. I'm also attentionally configured such that I'm objective about it. I don't have any biases. It's not I'm not right because I want to be right because I want that thing. I'm right because I don't care which thing. I just care about being right. They should put up a poster of me around the country. It says, statesman, patriot, poster boy, Eric. You never heard of Polk? Well, he's not a very famous president, but he only served one term because he didn't want to serve two terms, not because he couldn't get reelected. He bought Oregon He oversaw the acquisition of Oregon. Um, he got a lot of things accomplished, um, and was very businesslike about it. Seemed to have a good, solid head on his shoulders. But we don't need to understand everything because only certain things are actually prospective policy matters. That's the thing. It's like this guy last night, he was so mad at me because I didn't agree with him about the Second Amendment, but I pointed out if I were to become president, I would have almost certainly nothing whatsoever to do with guns or gun control. The Supreme Court's already ruled on the matter. The Second Amendment does guarantee the individual right to a firearm, and we must follow the law of the land. It is in the Constitution, very clearly worded as well. And in addition, even if I wanted to do various things about it, we have myriad amounts of evidence to show that despite shit tons of federal legislation regarding gun control, mass shootings have not gone down, they've gone up. So it obviously doesn't work. Not to mention the fact, even if your advocacy was to get rid of all guns, how the fuck are you going to do that? There's hundreds of millions of guns in the country, and the only way you could possibly take somebody's gun away from them is if you yourself came with a gun and said, you can't have a gun, which is just the hypocrisy and idiocy of that is just overwhelming, right? So the thing is, he didn't care. There's no possible way to advocate for or against more gun control that had any meaningful impact because the courts have already ruled on the thing. He didn't care that it's not a policy issue. It's still a voting issue for him because it tells you which side you're on, right? It tells him which side you're on. Told him I was on the wrong side. I was one of those gun nuts. Of course, nobody should vote on gun control or abortion because they aren't policy matters. They've been determined by the courts already. So it doesn't matter what my perspective on it is. The only reason anybody might think it does matter is because they think they can use a heuristic that says 2 legs bad, 4 legs good, just like a bunch of fucking farm animals. I kind of wish Texas had stayed its own country. No, you can't vote not for a federal office because the Supreme Court correctly overturned Roe v. Wade, not because women don't have a right to an abortion, but because you can't possibly justify that they do via a non-existent right to privacy. There was a perfectly legitimate way that the Supreme Court during Roe v. Wade could have established a woman's right to an abortion as one of the unnamed but unspecified but named additional rights promised by the 10th Amendment. They chose to not do that because their reasoning was all fucked up. It didn't stand. Additionally, it's obvious that Roe v. Wade ought to be overturned because the abortion issue, people are split pretty 50-50 in terms of the states, and everybody feels very strongly about it. You can't adjudicate it on rights because natural rights never contradict each other. So obviously abortion is not a rights-based issue. So it's appropriate then, since there's broad disagreement and it can't be determined on a legitimacy ground one way or the other, that it be put into the hands of the incubators of democracy, the states, where it belongs, regardless of which side you're on, right? If you don't agree with the court having overturned Roe v. Wade, then you don't care about the truth or justice at all. You don't care about the fact that there is no right to privacy that they appeal to, so they can possibly predicate any right to abortion on that non-existent right to privacy. We can easily establish there's no right to privacy because if there were, I could insist you look away from me, and if you didn't, you'd be violating my rights. So the point is, nobody should vote on abortion because unless you're voting in a state election, because the only places where laws will be made about abortion is in the states. So nobody should vote for a federal office on abortion. And the problem with people doing this kind of shit, right? No, Sage, you say abortion is worth voting on. You're just saying, I get to know whether somebody qualified to be president or not based on their perspective on this issue, when the only correct perspective on the issue, if you are qualified to be president, is that the courts have already ruled on this thing. It's not a legislative matter for the federal government anymore. It's up to the states. What fucking difference does it make what my position on it is? That's what you should hear from a good presidential candidate. What I just said means you actually understand things. But if you don't want a president who's good and understands things, you just want to use your easy heuristic and determine whether someone's on the good guy team or the bad guy team, well, you're the problem and you're un-American and don't vote. How do you like that? How do you like that? Anybody who would consider not voting for me, provided they knew enough about me, had enough exposure to me, should not vote at all. Because it's so obvious to anybody paying any attention that I'm more qualified than anybody they've ever heard speak on the matter, on any of these matters. I didn't used to think this was the case. Eventually, after many years of YouTube, I came to accept, well, these crazy things you say, you're thinking, they're actually true. I can't even imagine the countless thousands of people I've encountered who try to argue with me about things that I've already determined. They never get a single inch of ground. How many people have I argued with about evolution? So many people. Nobody has ever made a single good response to any of my points. I mean, it's literally that absolute. Nobody's ever even gone 6 inches towards explaining how genetic change over time causes speciation. Not ever has it ever happened. I've talked to smart people, I've talked to dumb people about it, I've talked to men, women, children, I don't know. Nobody, even though they all consistently believe, quote unquote, believe in evolution, none of them can say what it is they believe in. None of them can explain what happens. Does that cause people to agree with me? No. Is this a good example of how I had to accept that, yeah, I guess I am this uniquely correct about things? I didn't want to believe it. It seems statistically impossible. It's not a fun position to be in, to understand cognitive functions correctly and have nobody else, not only do they not understand them correctly, but they don't even acknowledge that there is a correct understanding of it. To understand that evolution does not explain where species come from, and to have the whole world be referencing it all the time. Like every animal video I watch is like, unchanged for the last 128 million years, the dragonfly evolved these perfect things long ago. Well, why did it stop evolving 138 million years ago? Because it was done. But why? I thought genetic change over time because, sexual selection and mutation or something, don't those same mechanisms continue regardless? It's complicated. You'll never understand it, Eric. I understand it, but you don't. Just think about it, Eric. Obviously, we don't have any better explanation than evolution. Evolution is not an explanation. It's the absence of an explanation. It's pointing to the fact that genomes can have variation within them, and populations of a species can differ from other populations of a species because of isolation, none of which involves any mutation or change to the genomic signature of anything. But nobody cares. Nobody listens to me and says, you are right about this, Eric. I mean, literally, I can't even remember anybody saying to me, Eric, you're totally right about evolution. I can't believe I've been in this fog of wrongness for so many years. I don't think I've ever had anybody say that to me. Even though all the myriad things I say about it should be enough to convince anyone that it's complete garbage. But, if things that should convince people, then I wouldn't be so uniquely correct. Is it a blessing? Is it a curse? I'd say it's a blur. It gives me something to complain about. Because, I'm not really that into doing things about stuff. More into like complaining, whining, doing a little scolding here and there. A lot of word based stuff. But, I don't blame other people for being like, this guy has delusions of grandeur. He thinks he is exclusively right about Jungian typology. He thinks he's exclusively right and the whole rest of the world's wrong about evolution. And he thinks he'd be the greatest president in America's history. What is wrong with this guy? How could he believe such ridiculous notions? It took a long time for me to accept these things as true. Just like when I first started coaching debate and my kids won a lot. It took me a long time to accept that it wasn't just a fluke that kept happening over and over again. That I guess I was good at that. I guess I'm better than the other coaches. It took me a long time to accept that. I just thought, well, it's just, luck mostly. I'm sure it'll even out long term. It never did. We kicked ass forever. Why? Well, I guess I'm a better coach than the other coaches. When I'm trying hard, you gotta try hard. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. But I worked hard at the bit too. So I don't know. Like, you're not supposed to talk about these kind of things, but I just had to. You find yourself at a crossroads where you've got two values that conflict. One of them being a disinterested, objective calculus of things, and the other being likability and modesty. Well, likability and modesty is mushy. I'll commit to the thing that's not being correct. I had a nice time typing that ESTP today. He had nice things to say to me. He said, I've been looking at different typologies, kind of comparing them again, and I just found your channel like a week ago, and got typologists on various tiers. You are S tier. I was like, well, thank you. You are correct. Everybody else is wrong tier. At least somewhat wrong tier. Unless they're just following my lead and doing it as I do it, which is fine. I don't care. I'm not trying to monopolize doing things correctly. That's ridiculous. I encourage every typologist to type just the way I do. But like, there was no way that Isaiah Rude was going to type people just the way that I do, because he's got to get his own ideas in there, and he's an ENTP. That was the thing that got me back down to being correct about typology, is I had to excise creativity from the equation. Obviously, I had to have some epiphanies about things like, wait a second, everyone keeps talking about these things as valued or not, but really there are two kinds of values. Like that kind of epiphany. There's instrumental and absolute. perhaps countervalued. So I guess it was just relentlessly excising TI that eventually was caught up to sort of by late arriving NI moments of, oh, I see. You shouldn't compare SI and SE, you should compare SI and NI because they're both ways of knowing. Moments like that. It took me a long time to figure it all out. I haven't figured everything out, but more or less. It took me a lot longer than it should have, really. But I was being creative. You know? Well, maybe this, you could organize it like this. Definitely your life starts when a sperm hits the egg. Is that a citizen? Can you address my rebuttal to your insistence that it's stupid to vote with abortion in mind for federal office? Presidents don't have the opportunity to veto constitutional amendments. If the requisite 3/4 majority in both the House and Senate were to pass such an amendment, I'm pretty sure the president doesn't have the opportunity to veto that. But if he does, it wouldn't really matter because even if we agree that life begins at conception, and there's no doubt that a zygote is an early stage of development of some organism, and that organism is a human being. We don't use stage of development to determine whether somebody has basic natural rights like bodily integrity. The problem with the idea of defining life as beginning at conception is that doesn't change the abortion question at all because you cannot adjudicate the abortion question on rights. Rights, natural rights, negative rights, they never come into conflict with one another. Except in one possible situation, which is abortion. It's the only policy area where we can adjudicate it by our rights. So even if we agree that a zygote has the full bodily integrity rights of a human being, it doesn't change the fact that the woman has rights to her body too, and they come into conflict. After all, if that baby got up in her uterus by accident, she didn't even consent to have it stay there, let alone let it stay there for 9 months. So that's why we can't resolve the abortion question as we can most questions. So any policy question you ask me, what's the correct position on it? I'll tell you what the correct position on it is, no problem. I can't do that with abortion. Nobody can. But what I have been able to do is articulate exactly why you can't do that with abortion. That's the best I can do for you. So your constitutional amendment wouldn't change anything. You'd still have what's fundamentally some kind of a rights conflict. You know, I could certainly make the argument successfully that Plan B is never abortion. Because observation precedes existentiality. In other words, if there's no sentient agent who has any opportunity to observe the existence of this thing, then every single time somebody takes Plan B, they weren't pregnant. That's how it works, philosophically. So we don't have to worry about Plan B. Not because Plan B doesn't abort things, but because every time someone takes Plan B, it turns out they weren't pregnant. I know, it sounds kind of weird, but it's true. And the reason is because instantiation infers existentiality. But without an observed instance, no instance exists. Well, no, Sage. Let's say I were to climb up into your butt and it was killing you, or you just were very uncomfortable. But I wouldn't get out of your butt. In fact, I had done so much in your butt that I had connected my blood to your blood. Now, the only way to get me out of my butt is to kill me. So, what do? Do you have the right to kill me to get me out of your butt? After all, it's your butt. Or are my right to life as a citizen take precedent and you have to wait till I come out on my own 9 months later? That's what it means to understand rights, right? Natural negative rights don't come into conflict with one another. There's no way for my right to do what I want with my lighter to come into conflict with your right to steal my lighter, because you don't have that right. So in every instance but abortion, rights never come into conflict with one another because they're predicated on ownership. The only instance in which rights can be confusing is when ownership is confusing. So what I've explained to you here should have convinced you. Presidents affect legislation. There can't be any legislation short of a constitutional amendment regarding abortion because the courts have ruled that the states matter. Yes, presidents affect the judiciary, but the judiciary made the correct decision in overturning Roe v. Wade for the reasons I've already articulated. A correct decision has to be predicated on correct reasoning. Since the right to privacy does not exist, privacy is something you are entitled to as a function of property rights, either via renting or owning or whatever. Because you have a space that you own, you can have privacy in there, and others can't invade it without trespassing, violating your rights. But there is no inherent right to privacy. That's just insanity and an abuse of the term right. So because the court did such a shitty job with Roe v. Wade and establishing a right to abortion, it was necessary for it to be overturned. But even if they had reasoned better than that, it still ought to have been overturned because it fits the exact description of the sort of policy matter that ought to be up to the states, something about which there's widespread disagreement and no clear-cut way to determine who's correct. So you should agree with me on all of these points, no matter how strongly you don't like abortion. Okay? And absolutely you should not vote for a federal office based on their position on abortion because, as I've articulated, short of a constitutional amendment, which would not be the constitutional amendment you suggested, it would just have to say, a woman has the right to an abortion. That's all it would have to say. But then, of course, if you want that, have the right to an abortion, or if you want it to be the opposite, abortion is not permitted. It'd be just like prohibition, right? It'd be like the Prohibition Amendment. So the problem is if you want to have a right to abortion, then you're going to have abortions up to 9 months plus. If you want life to begin at conception, then even Plan B would be illegal. Despite the fact that in reality, nobody takes Plan B as pregnant because existentiality follows from instantiation, and instantiation requires observation. So instead of voting for whether a candidate jettisons reason in the same way that you do in favor of their passion, in favor of this side or that side of something, why don't you predicate your voting on who sounds like they know what the fuck they're talking about? You might not get exactly what you want on everything, but you'll get the right guy. So, on matters where you and I agree, I will be just as powerfully correct as I am now, whereas you will only be feebly correct, possibly do damage. So you'll know that you'll have the most powerful advocate you can and the most correct person in the world entirely on your side when you are right, where you are right. It's also the case that I'm not going to pretend you're right when you're not. And you should say, okay, this is what we need in a president. He's not pandering to me at all. He's also not taking a simplistic black and white perspective on the matter that says abortion good, abortion bad. He's correctly articulating the civics lesson I needed to learn here about the various sovereignties and their overlapping authorities that comprise these United States. Okay, I get it. I'm not qualified to be president because I'm super passionate about things, and that prevents me from being disinterested in my calculations. But instead of checking to see if he's siding with me on things I'm passionate about, I'm going to check to see if he's unlike me and he's disinterested in being just a totally cold, reasonable judge of things. And I am. So there you go. If people don't want that in a president, well, then they need to go back to America school. Because there's nothing more un-American than wanting a shitty leader. I want my leader to be just as dumb as me. And I promise, if I become president, I will be just as passionately wrong as you about the things you're passionately wrong about. And together, we're going to stop those darn other guys and stop their awful ways. That's who you want to vote for. Well, that's not who you should want to vote for. You should want to vote for me. Okay, well, if you don't like my ontological argument, or I'm sorry, epistemological argument on Plan B, that's fine. I'll concede it's a reality of how language works more than how biology works. But, you know, the things that we can know and communicate about, and et cetera, blah, 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 that's subject to the rules of language. If there's no possible way that anybody can know that the conception occurred, then Plan B, then the thing that Plan B purports to get rid of never existed. Because, you know, if a tree falls in a forest and no one's around to hear it make a sound, does it make a sound? No one's there to hear it. Does it make a sound? The answer is, if no one's there, we have no idea that it fell in the forest. That's the problem with that question, right? It's like they're saying, pretend you've observed something that you've not observed. Now, what did it do? It didn't do anything from any human perspective because it's never been observed. You don't know that it fell in the forest. So, I don't know. I know this much. Like, I know what I would do if Rachel got pregnant, because Rachel's on a lot of hardcore psych drugs that would not be safe to carry a baby to term while she's on those drugs. And it would also not be safe for her to carry a baby to term when kicking those drugs because she goes batshit crazy. And I can imagine that would also not be good for the fetus. Do I want to do you a typing session? You want me to type you right now or what? Have I never typed you before or something? I mean, it doesn't sound miserable. I do sometimes type people for free. Oh, wow. If you're getting a free typing session, you're going to have to hit me at the right moment and say, how about now? And I'll be like, all right, fine. But this isn't that moment. And trying to schedule something for later, then I schedule things for paying clients, but I got to be in the mood to do that. But I will be eventually if you keep trying. You certainly have been around long enough to deserve it. Oh, you're going to pay for it. Well, then just pay for it, and then I'll send you the email and all that shit. And we can do it whenever you want to do it. What happens is my email will get a message from PayPal saying, Carlos Paredes sent you money. And then I'll get your email address. I'll email you an email that says, thank you for purchasing a typing session. What day and time would you like? I'm on California time. Thanks, Eric. That's the email I sent. And then the other person sends me a day and time. I put it on the calendar and invite them by a calendar invite. Bada bing, bada boom. Just like that. I remember somebody was telling me how their brother or their dad or something found my way of booking typing sessions super sketchy. You are not going to PayPal that guy $100. I mean, how sketchy is this? You pay him first and then he books a session? Like, it's not sketchy at all. It's just, if I don't do it that way, I'll never keep track of anything. I can keep track of it this way, no problem. If I let people book before they paid, then I'd never get them to pay. I'd forget to ask them to pay, or I don't know. Oh, he's over there still. Cool. I was afraid we'd lost our friend. There he is. Or she. She's a praying mantis. My favorite kind of bug. So, as usual, Eric ranting about how he's correct has brought in a massive audience of adoring fans. What do you mean? You don't want to listen to me say how I'm right and you're wrong. But it's educational for you. People don't want to be educated. That's for sure. Even children don't want to be educated. But children are pretty good at being educated compared to adults. Well, I'm sure you can always come up with some other perspectives if you're certain types. Hi, Cameron. How wonderful to see you. I've made some progress on the pond today, my friend. That's why they call me Pond Progress Paul. I need to remind Rachel that we're going to have to go into town to get her Klonopin today. She's probably asleep, though. I haven't heard peep from her in a long time. Rachel, darling, I just want to remind you that we have to go to town to get your Klonopin today. Okay. We don't have to go for another hour and a half or so, but maybe 2 hours, but just giving you a heads up. Love you. I can't pick up her Klonopin for her because for two reasons. One, it's a scheduled drug. Two, it's under the name Rachel Lapalosa, not under the name Rachel Strauss. You cleaned a filthy oven. That's pretty inspiring, Cameron. I wonder what I should clean. I think I poured a total of 4, what I call a full batch of mortar today. And I'm really making a lot of progress. But I need to, I'm going to need to get another bag of cement pretty soon, some more sand. I'm even starting to run out of lime. Lime, you don't go through that so fast because it's one lime, one lime to 2 cements to 4 sands. So I do 2 limes, 4 cements, and 8 sands. 16 sands. Because it's half a lime, 1 cement, 4 sands. So I do 2 limes, 4 cements, and 16 sands. That's a full batch. I got to use my charcoal filter respirator using that horrible oven cleaner. I can't wait to see the pond and plants. Yeah, I can't wait to show them to you. But with your cleaning, you're really making me... I'm really seriously considering this, and it's kind of crazy, but I think I might clean the floors. They need it. They've needed it for weeks, months. Who knows how long it needed to be cleaned. But I've been waiting till I got ammonia, and I kept forgetting to get it at the store. Well, I got it last time. I have ammonia, so I could clean the floors now. Because why do I use ammonia to clean them? That's what my mom used. Same reason why I use fish emulsion to feed the plants. That's what my mom used to feed her plants. She didn't have weed plants, of course. Actually, I was stationed in Papua New Guinea. Watch out for the euphoric satisfaction of success. Oh, you mean with the cleaning? I'll keep that in mind. That is dangerous. I don't want to get too euphoric. I am going to need to eat something before I do any other work. I've done quite a bit today. I've eaten very little, so. Okay. I've been doing great with my diet. I've been avoiding all carbs and sugars, and lo and behold, I only have to go pee a regular amount of times. It's crazy. And it's crazy how effective it is. But, well, Acacia, you raise a possible point, though, because even though I'm trying to give up all the carbs and everything, I still have some occasionally. And I was thinking, I could eat this Salisbury steak meal, skip the apple thing, because that's sugar, but go ahead and treat myself to the mashed potatoes and the corn. Corn has carbs in it too. But I think this is going to be just fine. But it's crazy how much of a difference changing my diet has made. I always have talked all kinds of shit about diet. You should just eat whatever you want. Diet's just all a bunch of bullshit. Boy, was I wrong. Am I eating humble crow now? So, just goes to show you I can be wrong sometimes. Banquet. Yeah. It's the cheapest banquet you'll ever go to. I don't think it was $1.99. I think it was $2.99. But California is more expensive than a lot of states, you know. I'll tell you what's cheap. Potatoes. You can get a big bag of potatoes for like $3. Of course, potatoes have carbs in them. Listen here, carbs. Why don't you just stop being complex sugars? Nobody told me carbs were sugars. I thought I definitely don't have diabetes because I tested it by cutting out candy for a while and I still had the pita bunch. It's probably because I was eating so much bread. It feels so good. Yesterday I began the project of getting horribly hanging towel rails to fit again after doing a little wall repair. I got to use the high quality original fixtures. Nice. Is this in Vegas? Is that where you're doing this stuff? Are you still in Vegas? If so, are you going to gamble? It's because you haven't slept a wink, Gyalt. You're so tired. No, no, no. Your mind is on the brink. And you wonder, should you get up? But you know what you will do. Well, Cameron, I think you should do a little gambling, though. You're not a big gambler, but I think you should go play one hand of blackjack for $100. You got almost 50% chance of winning that hand. You could double your $100 like that and just walk right out. Circus Circus. Cam Moto's aunt and uncle's place is Circus Circus. When they're gone, he has to do the reception desk, do all the maid services, everything. When I was a kid, I was a big fan of Circus Circus because they had this huge video game arcade, and other like stuff for kids in there, which was like, can we? If you're gonna gamble, can't you gamble at Circus Circus? I go play those things, then you run back out to your parents and get more coins. And that's back in the day when people put actual coins in slot machines and actual coins came out. The expression to call something crazy has taken on a new meaning. What are we calling crazy today? Passion fruit black tea with tapioca pears goes crazy. Do you mean by goes crazy, do you mean hits hard? Stayed one night at the Luxor on the way back home, and one night cost more than a week at Circus Circus. Well, we stayed at the Flamingo, and the rooms were really nice, actually. The room was super nice and not super expensive, but it's a terrible place to gamble, Flamingo. And like everything, and they just try to gouge you at every turn in Vegas. I've never been inside the Luxor, I don't think. Maybe inside it, but I've never stayed there for sure. Yeah, but I have fond memories of old Vegas and old Laughlin going with my family, with my grandma, my dad, my mom, my grandma's siblings, like Aunt Fern, Hazel, Ellie Mae, Muriel, mostly the girls. We'd all go to Vegas or something. My parents would try to let me gamble, like even if when I was like 12 or 13 or 14, they would go to like some kind of like weird little casino, and she'd say, okay, just sit here. You can gamble on this one right next to me, but if anything happens, just get up and get away. One time I hit $400 on a video keno machine. when I was well underage. My mom collected it for me. But, that was the old days when they were a little looser about these kind of things. Yeah, Vegas is in trouble. I've been watching some videos about that. They're in trouble for a variety of reasons. One, California's got pretty good gambling here. The casino that I gamble at up here called Chansey Gold. It has 3-2 blackjack. It has 2-0 roulette, unlike the Flamingo. If the gambling's not going to be better in Vegas, why in the world would I go there? I started watching Insane Clown Posse concerts on YouTube after listening to What is a Juggalo with Rachel and Eric. That's a funny song. A juggalo is somebody who eats Monopoly and shits out Connect 4. Vegas does have pretty lights. We saw a fun show at the Flamingo. Fun-ish. It was a pretty good show. It was a magic show. They were very well practiced in doing this show. It was like a sixth year at the Flamingo, I think he said. Tunica is next door to Memphis. Over in Tunica, Mississippi, another casino just shut down. The little city was thriving a decade ago, and now they're down to 5 casinos. Yeah. Well, I think Vegas has made a critical mistake in basically eliminating low stakes gambling. Like, it used to be you could go to a $5 blackjack table. You get $100, play 20 hands of blackjack, and it's gonna take you a while to lose your $100 at $5 a hand. Now you can't hardly play a game of blackjack for less than $25. They do have like Spanish 21 that lets you. I think the minimum is 10 or 15 at Chansey, but I don't know. Some kind of weird. They have a lot of weirdly structured betting things to to make it so that even if it's like a $10 minimum, well, you have to put $10 on the ante and $10 on the bet, and then if you want to bet it, you just put another $10. So there are no low stakes gamblings anymore. It seems like. I walked through Luxor when they were still building it. That's such an interesting staircase you can run down when you think security is going to throw you out. Hmm. I don't ever think security is going to throw me out. I don't know why. I figure, why would they throw me out? I'm just giving them money for no reason. Sometimes I win. I haven't gambled since I went to Chansey shortly after we got back from Vegas, like 2 days later or something. 'Cause I didn't feel like I shot my gambling load in Vegas. I lost. So I was like, I don't like gambling anymore. I'm not going to gamble. I don't want to lose money. Losing money's for losers. Eric Nelson and I snuck in where it wasn't open. Well, that's pretty sneaky of you, Cameron. I'd rather do drugs than gamble. Me too, generally speaking. But why can't you do both? Those are not mutually exclusive. You can gamble while on drugs. I don't really like to go gamble unless I'm on drugs, I think. I like to gamble when I'm on amphetamines. It seems like I gamble a lot better when I'm on amphetamines. Like, I'm keeping track of where I am. I'm getting up frequently from a table and switching tables or whatever because I'm trying to bank some profit and stuff like that. I just do a better job of gambling when I'm on amphetamines. Of course, that guarantees you nothing. You could still just lose every. Like when I went to Duchancey after I came back from Vegas, I literally lost every single bet I made. I sat down at the blackjack table with like 200 bucks in chips, and I played four $50 hands, lost them all. I went to roulette, got 100 in chips, and put like I think it was five $20 spends on. I picked four numbers and $5 each because you have a $15 minimum on the roulette. Anyway, I lost every one of those spins. I said, "That's it. It is not my day. I am going to leave now. Enjoy my money." My first table game was 21 at the Sahara with Eric and Laura Nelson and got up $600 richer. That would never, ever be repeated. Yeah, well, I've won on a number of occasions at Chansey, but I also have lost. Like the last time, I didn't need, I had no chance to walk away with the profit because I never went up for a second because I never won a single thing. At the Flamingo, at least, I played one spin of roulette. I put, I think it was $5 each on zero, double zero, and triple zero because Flamingo had triple zero roulette. And then I put $5 on the any of the green one, which paid 11 to 1. And of course, it hit zero. So I got paid 11 to 1 on that $5. And I got paid 32 to 1, 36 to 1. I forget what it is on the zero. And I lost $10 in bets, but and that was, I only spun one spin, and I was like, okay, well, I'm done with this now because when I first sat down there, I didn't realize it was triple zero until I was already sitting down, and then I didn't want to be like, oh, actually, no, because it's triple zero, because, you know, I can play craps. I just throw money on six and eight if there's room at the table. I played craps one time at Juchancey. They have what's called California craps, which has slightly different rules than regular craps. Like, for some things, you have to like pay a commission. It, it's kind of like how they do things at regular card clubs that aren't Indian casinos. Gambling is one vice I wasn't super keen on doing after 21. It was all alcohol and buying my own cigs and being able to walk into bars. That was my last eventful birthday. My 22nd was way more. It's true. You have to know when to cash out. Cameron says, cleaned up plenty of times leaving with $50 to $80 more than I put down. So the thing about gambling is you have to have one of two possible plans, and you need to follow your plan. So plan idea one is, okay, I've got, let's say I've got like, say, $300 in my bankroll. I'm going to potentially gamble $300 today. So my plan is going to be I'm going to sit down at the blackjack table with $100. Play. So then I can either say, I'm going to either play blackjack until I get to $200, double my money, and then I'll get up and walk away. Or I'm going to play four hands of blackjack and see where I am after that and get up and walk away. So two different strategies, but I think I like the second strategy better. Like, all right, I've got $300 to gamble. I'm going to gamble $100 first on four consecutive hands of blackjack, or more likely, three hands of blackjack. If no jacks pop up in the first three hands, then I'll put the other 25 on the jacks thing because they have a side bet. It's actually kind of countable. If you don't get jacks in the first couple of hands, you know, they don't have that. It's not, I think it's six decks. But the point is, you either say, I'm going to reach meow or nothing, or you say, I'm going to play meow amount of times and then leave and see where I'm at. If you just want to settle in and play at a table for a long time, you're always going to lose, because the longer you play, the more the law of large numbers takes effect, and the odds against you invariably get you. Yeah, I hate losing money too. I hate it. But I like winning money. So, bit of a conundrum. Bit of a conundrum. Well, I think I will wrap up this live stream now. And did I eat anything? Oh, I made that Salisbury steak, but I didn't eat it. Oh, let's eat lunch first. Then I'll wrap it up. I'm going to eat this Salisbury steak. And I'm even going to splurge and eat the mashed potatoes and the corn. But not the sugary apples. They say on the package you're supposed to cook this for 4 minutes and fiddle with it and cook it for another 3 minutes. Fuck that. 7 minutes. I don't need to fiddle with it. That's what I say about that. Mr. Salisbury has really gone down in history for the steak that he invented. What makes it different than regular steak? Well, for one thing, it's all soft and easy to cut into. I don't think it's because it's made out of prime beef or anything, but you never have a chewy, tough Salisbury steak. Nope. Mr. Salisbury guaranteed that when he invented them. I don't even know what this is made out of. Made out of beef? I don't know. Could be lamb for all I know. It's not. It doesn't taste like lamb at all. Do we have any Salisbury steak experts in the chat who can inform me? Tell me about the time that Mr. Salisbury invented Salisbury steak. The Salisbury steak is fine. I'm trying to eliminate carbs and sugars. So the potatoes, not perfect, but I'm not going to get down to 0 carbs. Later for dinner, I'll just make a pack of bacon. I'll have a salad. Just meat and vegetables. Potatoes don't count as vegetables, they count as a starch. So does corn. I won't eat all the potatoes, just have a bite of them. They're fine. They aren't like irresistibly fantastic or anything. Oh, why? When I open this door, you better not fly inside. Hmm? Don't you taste good? Um, I don't know how I taste. I mean, I taste fine to me, like if I'm chewing on my finger or something. But if you were to eat me, maybe you'd say I taste gross. I don't know. If I am what I eat, then I taste like Salisbury steak. The year was 1814. Lord Solomon Salisbury berated his cooking staff once again. Not like this! I can't chew this regular steak. Make me something soft. And that's how Salisbury steak was invented. It was used as a standby high protein meals for soldiers during the American Civil War. Are you serious? That somebody who there's so Salisbury steak was invented by somebody named Salisbury? That's crazy. Now listen, I want to tell you about two things. A magical kind of steak that I named after myself, Salisbury steak. And the other thing are tiny invisible creatures that make you sick, called germs. Are there germs on the Salisbury steak? No, no, no. Totally separate. I see. Where are the germs then? All over you, everywhere. Well, it must not be that harmful then. No, they're terrible. Try washing your hands. He was not wrong. Turns out the means to optimal health is meat, lots of meat, cheese, unsweetened yogurt, a couple vegetables now and again. That's it. Just gotta eat a lot of meat. It kind of is telling how our bodies can only digest so much carbohydrates, so many sugars before it kind of like uses up that ability or something. But you can, but process, your body digests meat perfectly. You know, the reason why people shouldn't be vegan, I've got one word for you: evolution. Back when we were cavemen, we evolved to eat meat because vegan cavemen died from starvation because they didn't plant any plants. Muscle pulp of lean beef. No, no, no. Any fatty beef. Fat, meat, cheese, unsweetened yogurt, and assorted vegetables. That's all you need. Dr. Salisbury said if I were confined to one means of medication, I would take hot water. I've drunk it for 25 years. Why hot water? Is Dr. Salisbury not aware that hot water gets cold in your stomach? Your stomach turns hot water into cold water. This is a very weak tea, isn't it, Dr. Salisbury? No, no tea at all. That's a cup of hot water. Why is this so healthful, do you think? Well, just think about it. Water is healthy. Hot is healthy. Hot water is healthy. That was his reasoning. It was pretty poor reasoning. But, Dr. Salisbury? Yes? Hot isn't healthy for me. Yes, it is. If the hot is delivered in the medium of water. You're thinking about fire. Obviously, fire is not healthy for people. Okay. Thank you, Dr. Salisbury. Are you a real doctor, Dr. Salisbury? Or do you have a PhD in women's studies or something? I'm a real doctor, of course. Otherwise, how would I know about the curative properties of hot water? I mean, all this time, all I needed to do to get over my polio was heat up my water? Yes. Don't you feel stupid now? Dr. Salisbury? Here, have a steak. Not a regular steak. Those are horrible. Have a Salisbury steak. Now, while you're eating your Salisbury steak, watch my primitive PowerPoint presentation on germs. I like this Dr. Salisbury character. He's got a lot going on. Sounds like Rachel's awake. Listen to this. Hot water. Let's see here. First, Dr. Salisbury stated, the water must be hot, not cold or lukewarm. This is to excite downward peristalsis of the alimentary canal. Cold water depresses as it uses animal heat to bring up the temperature of the body, and there's a loss of nerve force in this proceeding. Lukewarm water excites upward peristalsis or vomiting, as is well known. Lukewarm water makes you puke? By hot water is meant a temperature of 100 degrees to 150 degrees Fahrenheit, which is commonly liked in the use of tea or coffee. How much did you drink? Dr. Salisbury first used half a pint of hot water as a draught, but he found that quantity insufficient to wash out the stomach. He accordingly directs the patient to drink from 1/2 pint to 1 pint or 1½ pints at one drinking. In drinking the hot water, it should be sipped and not drunk so fast as to distend the stomach and make it feel uncomfortable. Dr. Salisbury noted, to make hot water palatable, it is sometimes desirable to medicate it with aromatic spirits of ammonia, ginger, lemon juice, sage, or salt, or vodka. You know what would make this hot water better? Vodka. It sounds like Dr. Salisbury is making stone soup. One must not slam the hot water down the peristalsis canal.
Oh, hello, Dr. Salisbury.
Hello. I hope in that container you've got a solid pint or even a pint and a half of hot water.
How did you know?
That's the best thing for you. So our praying mantis moved, but we still have him.
Really?
He's still out front, but he's just over on the other wall.
Oh my gosh, no way.
Yeah.
Maybe he likes our house.
Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
I just wonder if, he knows where he wants to be. I just was thinking he'd blend in so much better over here,
I know.
then he could also do us the favor of eating whatever bugs he sees. But that's fine. I don't want to disrupt him.
We have to get more iced tea while we're out. Okay.
Sure. I don't want to Elvira the praying mantis.
Yeah, I feel bad. It's like they're such like
They're such noble creatures.
yeah.
Like, why is it that praying mantises aren't gross at all, unlike other bugs?
They're not at all.
Why is that? What makes them not gross?
Maybe that's like their tactic, being not gross and like looking like leaves, so it catches other bugs easily. Right? Because they eat.
Well, I agree that their camouflage, looking like leaves, is very much part of their predation strategy.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure why that would make them not gross. I guess.
Yeah, you're right. Because like there are like bugs that look like leaves also who are like brown and they're not as majestic looking.
Like walking sticks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess we're gonna be wrapping up the stream pretty quick here so that we can go into town and get a couple things at the Marquetta.
Maybe some more raspberries.
Yeah. We'll get whatever we need to get.
Okay.
I'm planning to make our remaining package of bacon tonight. I'm gonna have bacon and I'm gonna chop up some of the salad very small pieces so that I can eat it without it poking my wounds. Oh, did I tell you I've got these implants are getting done on Monday?
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Wow! Congratulations.
Down on the bottom here, $4,500. But I mean, I know. But the thing is, at least with dentistry, you know in advance before you sign off on it the total price.
That's true. Unlike
and I prefer paying it a chunk at a time over trying to go get a huge cashier's check. So I don't know why it makes a difference, but it just I feel more comfortable.
That's fine.
Doing it this way. So I'm really happy we went with this dentist.
Yeah. If they have no problem doing that, you're gonna get the same amount in the end.
Yeah. I think I'm spending a little bit more money here than I would have. Probably I could have gotten everything done down there for $5,000 cheaper or something. But I don't know. I just didn't feel comfortable with the whole.
You didn't come back with a good experience.
Yeah. He was such an ENTJ, that dentist.
And plus you would have been in a long recovery.
He did not have any respect for SI, right? Like, oh, we'll just get it all done in one day. Whereas this guy's like, that's crazy. You need to heal between things and stuff. And he wasn't even talking shit. He's like, I personally think that's crazy, but
that's funny. Wow, I personally think that's crazy.
I like Dr. Tim. He's a talker. He explains what he's doing the whole time.
Oh yeah, he's the guy who got best dentist of 2022, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm gonna say to him next time if things go well. I'll say, I know if he just got it last in 2022. I say,
yeah.
Last 2 years, Dr. Tim, you were robbed.
You could say that. Is Dr. Tim the young guy?
He seems to be mid-30s, maybe.
Yeah, I was thinking he was my age.
You're 40.
Okay, so he's a little bit younger. But I was thinking around I was like surprised.
Your parents' age is 30s, mid-30s or early 30s, you know.
My parents are mid-30s?
Your parents' age.
Oh, my parents. You know, Grok actually said that I look, when I was doing like an image evaluation on me, it said,
you look good for an 80-year-old woman.
Woman appears to be in 30s to 40s. I'm like, you're not wrong.
But really, when you're telling a woman that, you should err at least 5 to 10 years younger, because some women are very sensitive about that.
Yeah, you know. I mean, I don't think I look like I'm like Kimmy and I were talking about someone who thought who in a movie who is like 30 something and she like pretends that she's like 19 and she looks nothing like this is just a stretch.
There was some news story about some lady who was in her mid 20s and kept getting like re-matriculating as a transfer student to high schools, like
Really?
16, 17, 18. She'd graduate, but then she'd go with a different name to another high school and they'd just say she's 16 again.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I remember, I don't remember the specifics of it, but I remember reading it as a news story. She eventually got busted. So you ready to go, or ready to
Yeah,
get
I
ready
just
to
need to
go?
get my bag.
All right, so I think I'm going to end this stream, and then I want to take a real quick shower because I'm all dusty.
Okay.
I'm just going to rinse off, and then I'll be ready to go. Friends, neighbors, countrymen, thank you for being here. Remember the wise words of Dr. Salisbury and have yourself a hot glass of water and a warm Salisbury steak.